Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay,
There we go. We are recording.
yeah. Okay, so I just have to start by saying thank you so much for doing this interview. It really means a lot to me.
Oh, it's totally my pleasure. I'm always excited to talk about music. So
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Mhm. So I'll just get started. What instrument do you play?
Currently, I play the oboe. I also play the English horn. I'm not sure if you and your friends know what that is. It's basically like a big, fat, low oboe. And I do a lot of that too. It's like, you know how you have alto and tenor saxophones, and it's basically the same instrument. It's just a lower register.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the same thing for oboes.
Okay. So what drew you to the oboe?
That is a really long story. So the oboe was not my first instrument. I actually started out on the piano when I was really, really small. My father is a pianist, and he started teaching me, I think, when I was about 2 years old. I just always showed a lot of interest in it. And, I had an in-house teacher, so that was really helpful. I played piano competitively through most of my childhood. I also did violin lessons for quite a while too. When I hit fourth grade, all my friends were joining the school orchestra, the school band, and I really wanted to be able to do that too. And so I took violin lessons just through the school, but my primary instrument was always piano. I went to an after school music program during my childhood. My dad used to drive me there on Tuesdays. And in the car, he always used to put on the classical music radio station in New York. It's a really good one. It's called WQXR. And he would play this game with me, and he would make me guess who the composer was of whatever music was playing on the radio station. And sort of through that experience, I was constantly exposed to big orchestra music, and I was always really drawn to the woodwinds, particularly the oboe. And I kind of always had it in the back of my head that it's something that I might want to do someday. And so when I was a little older, I think I was in eighth grade, I had the opportunity to go to a piano summer camp up in Maine, and they had a class called Class Woodwinds. And it was basically for people who were there for other instruments, and you could just like pick up a woodwind instrument and play it just kind of for fun during the summer. And I thought, yes, now's my chance. And so I chose the oboe. I really wanted to do it. I just from listening to Brahms and Schumann and Rachmaninoff and Mahler and everything my whole childhood, it's just the oboe always really spoke to me. And so I took lessons just kind of for fun that summer, and I never put it down ever since. I eventually stopped piano and violin to focus 100% on oboe. I think I was about a sophomore in high school when I did that, and the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, I mean, because I play piano right now, it's my only instrument,
Mhm.
the only one I really like playing. But I think if I had to choose like another woodwind to play, I would definitely choose the oboe just because like I feel like the sound is so beautiful. It's like really just like flowy, and I really like it.
It is. I always describe it to friends of mine who aren't musicians and who don't really know off the top of their head what an oboe is. I always say when you watch a TV show and somebody cries, 99% of the time you hear the oboe in the background. That's what that is. So I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah. I've heard that some oboists like to make their own reeds, and do you do that?
I don't know if using the word like is appropriate here,
Like,
but yes, I definitely do. Most professional oboe players, once you get to a certain level, you really do have to do it yourself for a number of reasons. Oboe reeds are so small and so fragile, and they're so dependent on your physiology. You really do need to tailor them to yourself and your face and your instrument and your setup and the kind of sound that you're trying to achieve. It's also just not cost effective at all because it takes probably between 4 and 6 hours for each reed to make, and they only last a couple of weeks. And so it's just something that oboe players are constantly doing and constantly dealing with. Um, I won't admit this publicly, although I think I kind of am here. I actually do kind of enjoy it. Don't tell anybody. I do kind of like it. I've always been very crafty. I like to crochet. I like to do stuff like that. And so this was sort of an easy skill for me to jump into and really enjoy. You get to play with fun colored thread. Yeah.
yeah, do you think you could like walk me through the process of making one?
I can, and I brought some demonstratives. This is going to be obviously really abbreviated. Um, I generally make my reads over a period of 4 days. I usually have an assembly line going, so I've got some in each stage throughout. But basically, what do reeds come from? And this is not just oboe, but this is clarinet, this is bassoon, this is saxophone, etc. All oboe reeds and music reeds come from the same plant. It's called Arundo-donax, and it's a type of bamboo. It's indigenous to a swamp in the middle of France. They do grow it in other places now. I know they grow it in Italy and in Spain and even in some parts of California. Also in China, they're starting to grow some cane, but old school oboe players always go back to France. So this is what it looks like. This is what it starts like. And you basically have to turn this into this. This is the finished product. I don't know how well you can see that. But it involves, you take this piece of cane, that's what we call it. It's bamboo, but we call it cane. And you split it into 3 pieces. And then you see how, it's kind of thick, right?
Yes.
So oboe players and just musicians in general, we like to use the part of the plant that's towards the outside, that's towards the bark, because that's what's stronger. So you have to scoop out all that middle stuff. We have pre-gougers and gougers and planers that do that. Once you get through that process, it looks like this. So you can see it's about 1/3 of what this was, and I've scooped out a lot of the innards of it. You then take this, you fold it in half over a knife, you strap it to this thing. This is called a shaper tip, and it's kind of a profile. And like, this is what you want the reed to look like. This is going to be the shape of the reed. And so you shape it against that with razor blades, and then you tie it to a staple, which is what this looks like. And this is basically just the piece that goes into the instrument.
Okay.
And then you tie it to this part here, and the final product looks like this. Once you tie the bamboo on there, you then have to scrape it to make it in a way that it would vibrate. And you can literally spend your entire career learning how to do that. There's a very famous oboe player. His name is John Mack, and he played with the Cleveland Orchestra for a very long time. And he always used to say that in order to be a good reed maker, you need to fill a laundry basket with bad reeds. And I am still filling my laundry basket all these years later, I think.
I mean that sounds really cool. It's like
It is.
because I mean like I think at least like for me, I don't really have to do all that. I just have my instrument, I get it tuned periodically.
Mhm.
But like you spend hours every week just like working on your instrument, which is really cool. Also shows how dedicated like different oboists are to their
Well,
craft.
yeah. And I mean, what I really, really appreciate about it, I was a pianist for a very long time. I played violin for a very long time. And on oboe, I feel like I have so much more control over exactly how my instrument sounds because I make one of the most important parts of it myself. And I can make it sound bright. I can make it sound dark. I can make it sound really punchy. I can make it sound kind of soft. You can make reeds for all different kinds of situations. I definitely play different reeds when I'm playing like in a chamber music setting, as opposed to a big symphony orchestra, or I play different reeds if I'm playing principal oboe or if I'm playing second oboe. And you really have so much control that way over what you sound like. And that's something that I really appreciate about it.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Um, so kind of going away from the whole reeds
Yes,
part,
please.
yeah, who are some of your musical influences?
Number one would be my dad for obvious reasons. We've talked about that quite a bit. He really got me into this and, is still incredibly supportive to this day. Number two would be all of my teachers, probably. I've been very fortunate. I've studied with some really, really incredible people. One of them in particular, my teacher from my undergraduate degree in Boston, his name was Rob Sheena. He plays English horn with the Boston Symphony. And just when he plays, that sound is in my head what an oboe or an English horn should sound like. It's just that is it. That is the ideal sound. And beyond that, he's also just a really good human. And I remember when I met him the first time, I was kind of like, I want to be you when I grow up. I'm still working on that too. And then probably number three would be anybody in pretty much any genre. I'm very much an equal opportunity employer as far as music that I listen to. But anyone in any genre who's talented and who works hard and who most importantly has fun while they're doing it. My cousin is in a band called Anamanaguchi. He plays guitar, and those guys, I watch them on stage and they are just having the time of their lives. And that's an important check-in for me. As a classical musician and especially as an oboe player, I spend so much of my time focusing on itty bitty teeny tiny little things, scraping reeds. It's difficult. And seeing people have fun with music reminds me of why I do all this stuff, and it reminds me to have fun too.
Yeah, I definitely think that like having fun is probably one of the most important things because over the summer and this fall too, I did this chamber music
Oh, that's right.
program.
With Claudia, right?
Yeah, it was
That's
Claudia.
amazing. Yeah, I've heard so many good things about that program, and I'm so glad you had such a good experience with it.
Yeah, and